Hey everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about Brazil, and specifically why the fintech industry is one to look out for in 2021 for investors across the globe. As the fifth largest country in the world, occupying half of the Latin American landmass, Brazil is certainly an unmissable force in global industry. This is most definitely the case in terms of fintech, which is short for financial technology, and essentially encompasses any program or technological development that can assist with financial services in the world of business. As the COVID-19 pandemic leads to greater innovation in numerous sectors, fintech has started to become a prominent figure in global headlines as demand for new solutions to problems that did not exist before are coming to light. Therefore, if you're looking to convert some of your capital assets into investments in new markets this year following the COVID-19 pandemic, perhaps the Brazilian fintech industry could be for you. And while the purpose of today's article is to explore a bit of background to the market, projections for the near future in the Brazilian fintech industry, and also its subsectors, as well as where gaps for investment are appearing, this is not to say it's any form of specific financial advice. It's just merely informative and to get you up to date, let's say, with what's happening in Brazil at the moment. And a good starting place is context, as context is always key. And so specifically in 1967, when the first ATM was built and positioned at a Barclays Bank, this represented kind of the beginning of fintech, almost the origins, and it's a pioneering moment because it signaled the changing times towards technologically based economic activity. So this is furthered by two other key dates and corresponding events, namely the introduction of the Nasdaq online stock exchange in the 1970s and in the 1990s when banking through the internet became commonplace. This could be characterized, for example, by the establishment of PayPal in 1998, a platform we're all pretty much familiar with. This information serves nicely as a background to global fintech. However, if we were to apply this to Brazil and how these events act as the catalyst for introduction of fintech in Latin America, it becomes clear that the timeline of development is not really that long at all. This is not to say there's no history, but what it definitely means is that there's a lot of room for innovation and presents an exciting opportunity for investment. The foundation for the market in Brazil may have been built in the early 2010s, but the pandemic has allowed it to rapidly accelerate as traditional banking has become less reliable and in some cases unviable due to lockdowns and the fear of contracting COVID-19. Prior to the global health crisis, however, in 2018, peer-to-peer lending became allowed, which meant that banks were no longer the only option, and therefore companies were able to innovate fintech to fulfill the purpose of expanding financial services in Brazil. So now that the fintech industry has been able to develop, the valuations of the market are more interesting. So to take an example, it's said that this year, 2021, the average value of capital transactions that will take place within the alternative banking sector will surpass $42,626. This is significant, especially in Brazil, as typically traditional banks saw a large share of transactions take place within the confines of their buildings. However, this statistic demonstrates the scope of fintech in an evolving market and potentially the value of investments in this sector. So looking deeper into the investment potential of Brazilian fintech, by 2025, the number of users of platforms relating to digital payments is said to increase to around 138 million, and in a population of 211 million, this figure represents more than 50% and exhibits the explosive potential in this market. Specifically, however, one of the main gaps in the industry that presents itself following the pandemic especially is the demand for banking that avoids all interpersonal contact altogether. In the financial services sector, this is known as neobanking, and if you're not familiar with this, it's essentially an umbrella term encompassing highly developed digital banks that do not have any physical presence whatsoever. Now, this certainly sounds enticing as they're cheaper to run than a traditional bank, leaving more money to be spent on developing tools and other features for users. And if we look at the numbers, the 2018 market valuation of neobanking across the globe was 18.6 billion, which is evidently much smaller than the large chains of traditional physical banks. But let this not put you off, however, as between 2019 and 2026, it is estimated that the compound annual growth rate of the neobanking sector will be 46.5%, increasing the value of the market to 394.6 billion in 2026. Now, this increase is drastic, and with Latin America becoming a hub for technological innovation, Brazil could well experience a boom in the neobanking subsector of the fintech industry too. So if you're interested in finding out more, please get in touch with us today. You'll be able to see all of our contact information on the screen now and in the description below. And, while you're there, please feel free to leave a like, leave a comment, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. But aside from that, thank you very much for listening to today's episode, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.